Welcome to the MMHP and the 989, channeling all styles and eras of Michigan music history.
Hello, Michigan music lovers. This is Scott Baker. I want to welcome you to the Michigan Music History Podcast. I am flanked by Michigan music royalty. To the left, Dr. J. To the right, Sir Fred. We cut from just around the block of the Michigan Rock Legends Hall of Fame in Bay City, Michigan, here at Studio 163 in Essexville. And now it's time to grab a favorite beverage, hit the cruise, and take a trip back with us through Michigan's rich music history.
This podcast is sponsored by our friends at Electric Kitch, located at 2106 Kosciuszko Avenue in Bay City, Michigan. And now, here's your host, Scott Baker.
Hey, we're back here at Studio 163 in Essexville. We have very special guests tonight. The Electric Kitch family in the house, our very own family, our record store, the place we go to in Bay City. Jordan and Jessica.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks
for having us.
Hey, this is
really
the least
glad
we
to
could
be
do.
here.
We got a lot of cool stuff to talk about. Dr. J, how you doing, bud?
Doing great, and we're going to have to behave ourselves because our sponsors are in the house.
Mr. Fred, how you doing, Sir Fred?
Good.
That's a big smile on your face. That's good. Were you drinking before you got here tonight? You playing your washboard? What were you doing?
Neither one.
No, I'm just messing with you, Fred. Mike Beatty's here. He's videotaping back behind the scenes, and Al's doing us some artwork. It's all like a family thing going on here.
You got it.
Getting ready for Halloween as we speak at this episode. But so, what's new, Doc? Anything going on with the Hall of Fame or?
Well, we're moving very slow. I say that every time because it's true. It is that.
I was up there today. Upstairs.
Did you go upstairs? Yeah, but the gallery's locked.
Right.
You know, we've got a lot of things that aren't.
I saw the stairwell.
Fastened down. Yeah, the stairwell's looking pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. The second part is going to involve labels. Back in the 60s where a lot of 45s were put out on labels that were local. Freeland, Michigan. Mm-hmm. We're going to have Susie Woodman as a guest coming up. So we've got that famous single that featured Meatloaf in his very first 45.
That was recorded in Bay City?
Right, at the Art Shield studio. Mm-hmm. And then they issued the 45 from their home in Freeland, Michigan. So there were a lot of those 45s issued, Mount Morris, Flint, Bay City. It was kind of a cool time,
I saw, I posted some stuff on the Bay City Memories thing about Buddha records. It was a Buddha press, and it's old, real old, but there was a little printing press. It had 78s, a lot of those.
And that was
Bay City.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, because of course the famous Buddha label,
right,
I think was in New York, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't BUDDH. I think it was BUDA.
Like Mike Buddha.
Yeah.
I just interviewed Mike Buddha about the engraved Madonna key that Jess posed for at Old City Hall after Smelly Little Town premiered at the Hell's Half Mile Film Festival. Unfortunately, Mike doesn't seem to remember exactly all the circumstances. So far, I've got 3 different stories about the Madonna engraved key. Uh-huh. So I was hoping to get the definitive story that we could put up because we want to frame that key and display it at the museum. And but I don't know exactly how we're going to do it now. But it will be up there as part of our Madonna wall.
Glad you scored it. That's good.
Yeah, it was great that Zach brought that to Bay City and that Lee Meredith was generous enough to give us the key. That's great.
Totally. And she was in the movie at the end there.
Yeah.
That was great. Uh-huh. What's new, Sir Fred? Anything?
Well, other than my health issues, everything's going good.
Yeah. You been finding any scores in the bins lately?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? What's the latest ones that have perked your interest?
Today, I just found...
Sri Lankan music?
No. 17 old big band stuff on CD. I sell a lot of that.
Well, I know you do. You sit in your apartment and you're Mr. eBay. Yeah.
No, Discogs.
Discogs. Oh, you cool.
eBay is... I only have a few on there anymore.
Okay. Cool. Well, we got the Kitch in the house. This is our record store that has recently moved. They are on 22nd Street now. Anybody that knows the Electric Kitch over the last... How long you been open now?
9 years.
9 years. Over the last 8 years, you guys know that they were right by the State Theater. I had people and friends that have come to town. They know where to go by the landmark. And you guys have now opened it up in a way bigger building. Tell us a little bit of the idea behind the move and what all is going on over there right now.
You want me to talk about it?
Sure.
Okay. Well, we outgrew that space downtown a long time ago. We always wanted to expand, and Jordan wanted more room to play music and record music. So we'd been looking for a few years, not too seriously, for another building, but we saw that one that we are in, and we toured it, and it's just perfect for us. We live upstairs. We have about 3 times the space for retail, and then we have storage and not much of a yard, but we have
But you got a studio.
Yeah, we have a studio. We have a flat roof that maybe we can make into a garden someday.
Oh, yeah.
Well, tell us about the studio. Where's that located?
It's in the store. It's right in back. It is very unassuming. It doesn't look. It looks like the building actually ends there, but there's 2 more rooms back there, and it's a recording studio that I use a lot and hope to incorporate a lot into really the people around here who want to use it. I can't do it full time, obviously, which is fine, but people that want to work on a track or 2 in the near future, and then hopefully maybe in a few years we can do albums there. But just for kind of short run projects, like especially in the digital age, if people want to get something out, online quick, and doesn't, we don't want to release anything physically, and we don't have to do that. We can do something fun and quick and do like a digital release that maybe is a little bit different than normal recording studios of the day.
You have a lot of analog gear back there, a lot of history, a lot of reel-to-reel oriented stuff, a lot of the old school stuff. That's one thing that you and I bonded about a long time ago, is the analog, that original sound of how anti-digital you were for so many years. So this is cool. You're really bringing it forward and pushing it out in the public here. So
yeah, and I don't want to say I'm anti-digital. I want to say I'm posi-digi, and I'm positive about digital and what it can do. I just don't like to rely on it as the source of it. Like, that's it. That's all you use is the digital source.
Yeah.
And I just never felt comfortable staring at that screen. So we're working with physical and tangible objects. I mean, that goes back to me being a child in the sandbox and Legos and all that, like a lot of us. So to me, it was just the same thing as an extension of that, where I got to play with something physically, build something physically, and then like actually hear it, record it to something physical and have it be there. And I guess just want to share that with people who haven't really had the chance to maybe use that sort of equipment. I mean, a lot of times, like as soon as technology goes somewhere, it gets totally cut off, and then the next generation doesn't even get to use it, which, brings maybe to the next point, like, why is vinyl sustained so long? It's like, well, it's almost like a new format to so many people, because for the past 20 years, we've gone hard digital, not just like CDs. I mean, streaming platforms beyond our wildest dreams, like the next upgrade, the next this, the next thing for bands, the next thing for artists. So, I mean, I just tried to almost forget about that and focus on just creating something rather than like getting it out on a stream.
Right. And you cut all your records, Beast in the Field and all them onto direct, was it tape?
Not
studio stuff, I mean?
Yeah. We did. Yeah. I mean, I always recommend it. If you don't like doing a lot of takes, it's probably not your thing. I don't like doing the punch. We're getting a little technical, but yeah, we don't do a lot of like punching in, punching out, which would like, if you make a mistake, you just do it. You just go back and do the whole thing over again.
Right? The real deal.
I'm gonna really grind it out of you. I guess.
Is it going to be called Electric Kitch Studio, or do you have a different name for it?
No, it'll be a different name. Technically, yeah, it's called the Source of Light and Power, Source East. So not to be confused with Source of Light and Power, Bay City Utility Company. But yeah, we're claiming to be the source of light and power.
Cool.
Well, in a way, you are. Right?
Yeah, right. Sort of.
That's from the old Joe's Plumbing place. So you got the real light and the power going on there now, eh?
Yeah. There's a lot of weird electrical things that happen.
All right. That's awesome.
Well, thanks for asking about the studio. That's nice.
When do you foresee that being open?
Early next year.
Okay.
2022. Yeah.
Because if you guys know and you've heard our bumpers and our everything for the show for the second season here, we've been pushing the Kitch, and he did not want me to say anything about the studio, but I knew we could talk about it safely today. So
yeah,
you are hearing
cool.
it first here.
Yeah, first time. I have mentioned it in passing in the store a few times to people though. Mm-hmm. So Fred have seen it.
Yeah.
Well, you share something with Fred in the sense that when he had Black Kettle, which was basically located almost directly across the street from your previous location, he had a studio there, a studio in the basement.
Yeah.
You did how much? You did quite a bit of recording there, Fred. Did you?
Well, more so my partner did, John Kohut, and John Kilborn. He was the engineer. We recorded George Heriter, whatever it's called, the Ballad of the 3rd Street Bridge. Mm-hmm. And the flip side, I also played on it. And we recorded Ron Lopez. I don't know where that tape is. And a few other ones. John did a lot of commercials in there because he was working for WXOX at the time. So a lot of it was commercials that he did.
Did that Ron Lopez album come out, or was it a song, or what was it? Don't know. Don't even remember, eh? That'd
like
be cool.
I said, I ran the record shop. When John kind of ran the studio.
Should have asked Mike that when he was here. I got to call Mike tomorrow anyway, so I'm gonna hit him up about that. He asked me. Well,
this is before Mike,
right? But Mike might know.
Right.
He's kind of taking care of Ron's stuff over the years. So.
Oh, okay.
I mean, not Ron's stuff, but their stuff. But they were very close.
Yeah. So Jordan, do you have enough room to record a band back there?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Plenty. Yeah, and we can use the floor as a live room too. So
okay,
there's a lot of room.
All right, that's great. I'll have to take a look. I didn't realize you had a studio in there.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's great.
And you got a lot bigger area now to fix stringed instruments and sell some. Even I see them there now.
Yeah, recently got into selling instruments quite. It seems overnight, but I don't want to say that. I had been selling instruments before Jess and I opened the store at B's Music.
That's where we first met.
Yeah, that's where Scott and I met. And it just sort of happened again since I've been fixing guitars for a long time too for people in the area. It's I don't know. It was really nice to have that sort of add that sort of feature to the Kitch. Right now it's just guitars and a few pedals, 2 practice amps. I love that I could say that, and that's where we started, mm-hmm. And it's always fun to see what comes in because it seems like something new is coming in every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you guys start a store before you opened in Bay City?
No. Jordan was working at B's Music, and I worked for a commercial printer in Midland. And Jordan wanted to do his own thing, and he moved towards Bay City from Mount Pleasant. And we started, at 917 Washington with just kind of whatever records we had that we had collected that we could part with, and some turntables and a few things. We didn't have a lot when we opened, and we didn't have a permit to sell, so we couldn't even sell anything at our grand opening. We didn't want to get in trouble with the city.
Yeah,
Wow.
we in downtown you needed we didn't know this, a junk license in order to sell things.
Like secondhand things,
Yeah,
yeah.
secondhand things. So
Is that new?
no.
I never did that.
Yeah, I doubt many people did.
I don't
Maybe the pawn shops, but
That was fun that was sarcastic. It was not fun having the police come in and asking about our junk license for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Huh.
That's wild.
Really strange.
Yeah. I remember seeing you back at Bees, though. Every time I come in, you were setting up guitars. You were the only one that wanted to go out of your way. I mean, there's a lot of great people working there. I always enjoyed Bees. But you went out of your way to talk to me, like to see what was going on.
Oh man.
And that's one thing. It's like, man, this guy actually wants to know what's going on, not just, hey, Scott's here, cool. Let him play some guitars or hang out with Brian. You were like, hey, get over here. Hey, what's going on? He's, it was just digging into that. It was like when I found out you were in town, and
Oh man.
Yeah,
that's
that's
really
pretty cool.
I don't know, that's really nice to hear. Thanks, Scott.
yeah.
Did you guys have a model that you based Electric Kitch after? Was it Bees music or?
no, Bees is strictly, and well, it was strictly instruments at the time.
Yeah.
And repair. They expanded into records the past few years, but we, I don't know, we went to a lot of stores all over the state. We always thrifted together. There's a store in Royal Oak called Lost and Found Vintage, and they used to just have a tiny record section in the back, and it was mostly clothing, jewelry. They're still there, and they're awesome, but we were kind of the opposite of that. We wanted more records and a tiny bit of clothing and other things. That was one of my favorite stores that I always thought would be cool to have something like.
How did you two meet each other? How did that start?
We met online.
Yeah, eHarmony.
Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
40 points of matching, whatever that is.
Wow. What year was that?
2010.
2010.
Yeah, 2010.
So what was the key here? A love of vinyl or?
No, not really.
Yeah, no. Music was sort of it. Like
Yeah, we talked about music a lot.
music, but mainly it was, more like kind of just life goals in general about what we thought each person wanted to, how we wanted to end up later in life, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
But
great.
Jess was the one that encouraged the store. I mean, if I hadn't met her, I never would have gone forward with any of it. And, take any number of stories, who knows where would have ended up. But really couldn't be happier to do this.
So the store was 2 years after you guys met, pretty much?
Yeah, it was 2 years. Yep.
Actually, I think it was 2009 that we met on eHarmony. But anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we'd have to look at. I still have the emails when we first started emailing each other. But then about 2 years, and then I still worked my corporate job for 3 years after we opened. So we had that to pay the bills in case the business failed. You never know.
And I had no idea what I was doing. I know this is even up until about 7 years ago. I think I'm like, I think I get this now. Yeah. I mean, didn't really have any formal training. Worked at small businesses except for Kroger my entire life. So tried to pick up as much as I could from the owners and anything really, asking and that's my advice. If you're going into a business, just ask as many questions as you can to anybody.
Did you relied primarily on word of mouth, to get things rolling?
Yeah, pretty much. We went to the library and we wrote a business plan, and we consulted our families about help and who could do what for us and help us, do what we needed to do to survive.
Yeah, I think your location probably helped you.
Yeah, it definitely
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, like if you would have started at Joe's, where your current location is right now, probably would have been a lot harder.
Yeah.
Because you don't have that traffic like you had down on Washington Avenue.
Yeah, and there's actually MLive did an article about young entrepreneurs opening businesses that year. So it wasn't just, it was us, and it was Populous Coffee, which turned into Harless and Hugh. It was Chan's Garden. It was a few other businesses. We were all opening at the same time, and it was all people in their 20s and 30s. So it was kind of like, that was like a mix of things that probably led to us being able to stay open and succeed too, because it's tough for small businesses the first year or two.
And you guys are all in the foot traffic district at the time, which Gary was saying, traffic-wise, foot traffic is the main thing downtown there. I mean, there's a lot of driving too, but now there's really no sidewalks to walk on. It's just drive up and...
Yeah.
And the east side is pretty healthy.
What's happening?
Yeah, really.
It's really turned around.
And you get daytime people there. It's not like the west side, which is more like a nighttime kind of scene. It's the east side is going in Bay City.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, now have you guys experienced any issues since you've moved, like negative or positive, or has it been pretty much staying afloat, or how's it going?
Yeah, it's been good. Everyone seems to really like the space and are happy that they have more space to record shop.
Yeah.
And we've been able to expand, use CDs and cassettes and everything. So it's been, for the most part, positive.
Yeah.
Your customers have all made the transition and everybody's heading over and the word of mouth is still getting out. That's great.
Yeah. And without too much advertising, I mean, with social media, it was pretty easy to let people know. And Jess had the foresight of saying, like, man, we should just let, I don't know, what is like a month before we were going to move?
Yeah, I didn't want to tell people too early, and I didn't want to tell people too late. So we just kind of waited to blast it out that we were moving, and I don't know.
It was a perfect time, really.
Yeah. And it was over the February time period, right?
Yeah.
Which is usually the slow time of year, probably. Just before spring and just after the holidays. So you guys are right in the midst of the bad weather, but the perfect time to move and get everything ready. So when summer hit, bam, you guys are all on. And
yeah, and it was during COVID. I mean, still is, but the beginning stages too. So many things are just like, I guess we're just doing this.
What's the most surprising thing to you, Jordan, of your store? I mean, like you said, just had a foresight for a lot of things. What did you see about it that you're like, I never thought this anything I'd be doing this or anything?
Man, good question. I know you're gonna have a marker here on the.
He's already saying. He says, "Edit this part out."
I know.
Right.
Yeah. I'm surprised almost every day just by talking to people, and just getting to know people to me is surprising. And I think it was Anthony Braxton, I think it was Anthony Braxton, AACM musician, who said, like, the reason he likes improvising is he likes to be surprised by music, by something. You're like, oh, okay, I didn't know, I just did that, or I just heard that person do that. And I don't know, the record store to me is almost the same way, where you might be surprised every single day if you can, like, kind of dig in with someone, with a person.
You learn something fresh every day that's surprising because you didn't know it the day before.
Yeah, and if you can almost look at it that way, to be like, I don't even know who I might meet today, or what conversation is going to happen. Like, oh my God, I got to talk about Sun Ra and Alden Abraham today. I had no intention of it. And, same thing is, like, I had no intention of ever fixing guitars. It was, and I don't even want to say that it, like, fell into me, but it did. I was going to get a job as a guitar teacher, and then, and B's Music was like, well, we kind of want someone to, like, fix guitars too. Like, well, I don't know anything about that. And they're like, we'll teach you. And so that, to me, that's it, and I want to teach people too, about fixing guitars and show, because to me, if you're going to play and be on the road, even if you're not going to do it for a living, if you're going to play, it's just having some knowledge about your instrument and just kind of taking care of it. And I thought B's, like, even with I had no experience, I would have messed up so many guitars. They're just, Brian Hansen just goes, yeah, I'll teach you, don't worry about it. So, and to me, I don't know, I want to have that sort of comfortability. And I know, like, people have different experiences every time, right? They go into a store, not everyone's on that day and blah, blah, blah. But if we can talk it out, we might get to that point where it's like, hey, I'll just teach you this.
It's awesome.
How about you, Jess?
Yeah.
What do you love about the store?
What's surprising to you that you never expected?
Well, I think we've been talking about this a lot, like the things people want to buy now that when even just 9 years ago no one wanted. Like the different artists, but also the media. Like we never thought about cassette tapes until recently. Cassette tapes are, making this huge comeback, or a lot of bands are putting their new music out on cassette tapes. A lot of kids are getting their first cars and they have cassette players. A lot of people like it for the nostalgia value, I guess, or it's just another physical media to collect and appreciate. So I guess those things, like the trends that are changing of the musicians that people want to buy and the media itself is interesting.
So 8-track in a couple of years will probably become
maybe we have some 8-track. They've been sitting there for a while.
I hope.
I know there's reel to reel is all positive going in there, so 8-track's gonna fall in there some. Nah, that's crazy. Look at Fred. He's like, no, hate that. Yeah.
I was in the business when 8-tracks were out.
yeah.
Pain in the butt.
Yeah.
My first music purchase was 8-track.
People would come in, they say, "Oh man, my 8-track broke." And they had it wrapped around the 8-track.
Oh my God.
So what we were taught, just take it out and with a pencil and it goes right back in. And people would go, "Wow, man, how did you do that?" Takes years to learn stuff.
The 8-track, so yeah, that's
it was fun though when the 8-tracks were out, because I was at the time at the Record Hut downtown Saginaw, and it was started to become more of a black store, and a lot of the blacks were buying 8-tracks, so it was fun.
What was the top sellers?
Superfly.
I hated 8-tracks.
Me too. Well, as a kid, I love the fact that I could switch through 3 different sections.
Yeah, but they always
But as I got
interrupted a
older,
song.
immediately hated it. Hated interrupting the song. Yeah.
God.
I went right to cassettes after vinyl. I had my
did
first
too.
45s and then went right to cassettes, and then I seen CDs come in. I'm like, I'm just starting the cassettes.
Well, with
come on.
cassettes, you could take your albums and record them to cassette, then play them in your car. That's what I loved.
I remember some
Be able
adults
to do that.
having that great crispy record on a TDK or a Maxell,
Right.
and that come slamming through the system, and like that's off the vinyl. Yeah. Those are the days. So, what's the next big move for the Kitch? You guys see anything in the future that you guys are going to expand upon or do, or what's have you guys, or just let it ride for a year here because it's a brand new place, or what's the secrets?
Yeah, I haven't really thought about that. The building is old, so there's always things we need to do with the building. So we kind of just have different areas we want to save money for to do improvements to the building. We always want to have more store stock and cool things. And
you guys have had a few guest celebrities come to town, play the state or wherever, and stop in the shop too. I know John Waite came in. You said one time.
Yeah.
Anybody else any memorable things that you can even jokey things?
Yeah, that's kind of what's sad about being away from the State Theater now. I guess we won't get those touches with celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you still might get them because really you're the only game in town as far as a record store goes. So that's a pretty cool
thing. If they have
thing.
time and they want to come
and
check
you
us
have
out.
a little bit more room now too to do
Do
something.
artists still have CD release parties?
Some bands do local.
Right.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, for sure.
We used to do
a lot of the
them
bands
as
are
school kids.
putting their stuff out on vinyl now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not just CDs. CDs are kind of
Well, I just
fading
meant a
little bit,
release
yeah.
party.
Yeah, a release party.
Are you guys going to still have bands playing in the shop like you did at the other place?
We talked about it. I want to in some capacity. I don't know if it's going to be like a regular type show or what it will be, but it will be something.
So you will have something that like you had Northwoods in there and you played in there once, and then
Yeah, you played in the Kitch.
yeah. You got a lot bigger space, but you guys are also filling it like nicely, like it's filling out like ideally eye candy. Whenever you walk in, there's so much to see, so much to check out and do. It's I was wondering about that because I was like, they haven't really had a show that I can remember there yet. But
and we did put everything on wheels, on casters, so we can move everything around pretty easily. Before it was a little tough, but thanks. Yeah, so it's not too bad to move anything around and make it look decent, make some room.
That's cool. Just tell us about your Madonna collection.
I have. Well, I think I have all of her studio albums, and the singles is like, I don't know how Gary feels about it. Like, do you collect the singles? If you're a completist, do you collect all the singles and all the 45 and 12-inch singles, and do you get everything?
It can be a big job.
Do you just stop somewhere? Like
we're looking for some picture sleeves.
Oh yeah, well I have some. I brought you this today. If you want to put this in the museum, this is a Desperately Seeking Susan T-shirt, still in the shrink packaging, brand new.
Wow.
Listen,
So
pretty cool.
I have one that I wear, and then I kept this one sealed. But if you want to display,
I remember lusting after that. But I don't. The display has changed a little bit. When I first talked to you about it, I was thinking we were going to have to put everything in glass cases.
Yeah.
And we've kind of thrown that concept out of the window. So right now, maybe I would not have a way to use that because everything basically has got to be framed and put on walls. So that gives us more space in the middle because we have that big tombstone in there. Yeah. And we need to, put something around that to tell the story of the tombstone. It's coming along nicely, I would say. So, maybe give you guys a sneak preview, and I can at least show you the Madonna wall. There's some of the other stuff is up. There's a Cream magazine wall, and we've got a lot of instruments up there, thanks to Chad Cunningham. So I don't want to go too much. We've kind of covered this in previous shows, but one thing that's coming up, I know you're probably interested in, Jess, is the idea once again is out there putting some Madonna signs in town.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you probably caught some of that on Facebook or Messenger.
I haven't seen any action lately, but I know there's a Facebook group for it. And when the mural popped up on the City Market building, there was a lot of action going on then.
Well, there's a new push after Smelly Little Town came out.
Okay.
And so Chris Gerard is kind of spearheading that. And he's got Dana Muscat involved.
And they were the original ones.
Right? In order to get one coming into the city, you've got to get MDOT, Michigan Department of Transportation, on board to get permission to do that. But there's also a thought of putting one by Mercy Hospital, which makes sense, since that was her birthplace there. So I don't know. I'm a little bit more confident about it actually happening this time because, every time there's some kind of a Madonna thing, just like everybody gets excited for 2 or 3 days and then, what happened? It's just, but this one might have some legs. I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah, I think it's just great for Bay City. The mural is great. Once we get this display at the museum, that's going to be just another factor. And then if we get a few street signs, awesome. Let's take advantage of this.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, just going to make Bay City a little cooler place.
You could have one on River Road. You can have 10 coming in. You could have one Bangor coming in. There's so many places.
Slow down
Quantico.
We'll be lucky if we can get one.
I know.
This podcast is sponsored by our friends at Electric Kitch, located at 2106 Kosciuszko Avenue in Bay City, Michigan. They offer new and used records, including local to Michigan original vinyl and CDs, as well as clothing, electronic equipment, funky household items, music gear, and stringed instrument repair. You can find them on the web or call 989-402-1411.
One cool thing I've learned coming and shopping with you guys over the years is when you guys go do estate sales and buy out big record collections. Jordan, tell us some of the unbelievable finds. And I know you've had a few where it just blew your mind. I think Moondog was one of them back in a year ago or two. But there's some ones. Can you tell us some of the stuff you've come across in these estate sales?
Yeah, actually, there's a really wild Bay City story. So there's a kind of, I don't want to say famous, but a really rare, interesting record that was put out by the U.S. Armed Forces in 1972. And what they did was, so this group was from Bay City, Michigan. And they were in the Army, and they played this Battle of the Bands, and they won, and they went over to Germany. They were stationed in Germany, and another band, the same thing at another base somewhere in the United States. I don't know if it was, I think it was Michigan too. And so when they were in Germany, they recorded a record, both bands. One was called Soap. The other one was called East of Underground. I think the Bay City band was called Soap. I'm sorry I didn't bring this. I have pictures of this too. So anyway, so without going into a ton of detail, the Army put out their record. They made 88 records, a double LP. Band had each record. They played some Battle of Bands, and then they were slated to go around to all the U.S. bases in Europe at the time in the early 70s and just play these shows for the troops. They're like nobodies. And they had these records that they could like sell or hand out. And it became super sought after like a collector had found, like a famous DJ had found it. And I happened to find like 2 of these records in Michigan. And I'm telling this story to someone who had like started coming into the store looking for just really certain specific stuff. And he asked the same question, what's like the rarest record you had found? And I told him the exact same story, and we started looking up the names, and he goes, God, you said you think they're from Michigan? I go, yeah. And this record had been reissued by a really famous reissue group. It sells for anywhere from like $700 to $2,500, depending on the day. And there's still like no information. The Army would not release information about it. They let the company have the rights to it because the Army owned everything. And I think it was the Numero group that reissued it. Anyway, so I'm with this customer. And he goes, I definitely think I know this guy. And so fast forward, and it happens to be this guy. And mind you, there aren't any interviews about this band. Nothing. There's barely any information, even on the liner notes of the reissue. So after weeks of talking to this gentleman, the customer finally brings him in to talk about this record, and he still has his copy. It's beat to trash, just beat. And he does not want to talk about the record. He ended up staying for about 3 hours. He gave a ton of details, some of which he didn't want me to talk about, some of which he said I can tell the story of, how they got there. He didn't really care about the record at all, about the music, about being over there. It sounded like he wanted to forget it. He didn't want to do an interview. Otherwise, they did want to interview him and record it because, like I said, no one from any of the bands have come forward to talk about any of it. So, but that's it. He's still alive. He's retired. He does live here in Bay City, Michigan. If anyone, especially from the Numero group, wants to get a hold of this guy, get a hold of us. Talk to Scott Baker in this podcast because I'm sure some people want to know about this record.
Wow. I'd love to write about this story on the website.
Yeah,
definitely.
You're digging into dirt here that we haven't even uncovered, so this is cool.
Yeah, there's stuff to be uncovered, like a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure. So I would say that's probably one of the
What kind of music was it? And you've heard some of it? All of it?
Yeah, I
Is it big band or?
No, it was rock. Like,
one was
like
they were
funk, like a funk rock band, and the other was just like straight up classic.
Whoa.
Yeah, they kind of sounded like Neil Young Crazy Horse, the Bay City band, and then the other band was kind of like a Sly Stone kind of thing.
Mike Beatty, you just made him perk up. He might be dropping the camera in there, so don't say Neil Young too often. He's going to come running in here, and he's going to track you down for that name.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it wasn't recorded. I mean, I think they recorded it like live on stage, like 2 mics. So the recordings aren't the best, and the master tapes weren't the best either. But it still exists as like this weird artifact, as like the army was and I guess the one thing he did say was that the army was trying to recruit people by giving away these records, like selling.
You could do
that
this.
That was their job. Like you could win a battle of bands, and you won't go to actual war. You'll just be playing music as of this group.
And this is 71, 72?
Yeah, and he said that's what they were picked to go in the army to do, was to be this band.
Well, Army trying to change its image a little bit post-Vietnam, or actually Vietnam was still going on at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Interesting.
So you guys, what did you think of the movie Vinyl Nation, being in the, the business and selling vinyl at your store?
Yeah. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, I don't know. I was impressed with Vinyl Nation. Like, there's so many different ways you could have gone with that movie.
Yeah.
It just seems like such an impossible task to even start. And I think he did a good job of touching on quite a few different areas of vinyl in general and vinyl collectors without straying too far and getting off into one area too much. I think it was a good summary, a good basis. I kind of wish everyone could watch it to just have a basic
Is that on
Vinyl 101.
Netflix or anything?
Well, I don't think so,
it
but
is.
it won Best Documentary Film right at
festival.
Hell's Half
Mhm.
Mile.
Oh, it did.
And, yeah, right. And, it was very good. I thought, just the one part that I thought might have been, maybe should have been cut down a little bit when they got into the love of vinyl.
Yeah.
And then one gal, was being brought to tears. I mean, I love my vinyl records, and I can basically, I think I could pick up any record and remember where I bought that record. I can't do that with CDs.
Right.
Of course now, downloading a lot of stuff onto my phone because I can't play it in my car any other way unless it's on the phone. I thought maybe that's the one part of the film that I thought maybe could have been trimmed a little bit right at that section. But the rest of it, the first part, or the majority of the film, I thought was really outstanding.
I never got a chance to go back down and check that out, actually.
Well, that's the too bad about, like the Hell's Half Mile. It's great that they're presenting these films, but really just a very small number of people really get to see most of these movies.
They did do online showings this year for people who weren't comfortable being out in a theater yet. But
They might still have them up there then, too. Yeah.
I'm
I
not
think so.
sure.
No,
I think it was a week window.
Yeah, there's some rules and regulations. We're trying to get Smelly Little Town to be able to show it at the museum.
Right.
I mean, it's not that many people. You can probably get 100 or so people in, but that's maybe 100 people that didn't see it at the festival. But it's real difficult. I know in Zach Neumeyer's case, a lot of the video and audio that he used in there, he got a special rate called a festival rate. And that way, you don't pay as much, because it costs a lot of money to use that footage from NBC and, all these other sources that he used in the film. But the stipulation is it can only be shown at festivals, and, he can't charge admission or anything like that. Of course, at the museum, we wouldn't charge admission, but it's not a festival. And so he was going to look into the possibility, talk to his lawyer, and see if we might be able to work a showing there, that would kind of maybe somehow get under the wire a little bit without violating, any agreement that he had to set up in the first place. But yeah.
So is that going to squash his DVD plans and all that too then?
Well, the problem with all that is, could you ever make enough money back to offset the cost of trying to put it out commercially? Maybe Vinyl Nation, because it is actually a full-length film.
True, I forgot it was a short.
Yeah,
it was a short, yeah.
Smelly Little Town's 26 minutes, That's just
something might run on a Sundance channel or something.
Yeah,
or some,
that's possible.
I get that.
I'm hoping he submits it to some other festivals. But it's a funny film because it has to be a short, but yet 25 minutes, that's kind of long for a short.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of those films in short, you know, they're under 10 minutes. So, you know, he's kind of in a funny area there.
Interesting. Yeah, that was a cool Hell's Half Mile this year.
Oh, yeah, it's always great. I mean, you know, they do a wonderful job.
Mm-hmm.
Did that Susie Quattro win any awards?
No, but it was terrific. I
haven't seen that yet either.
Great.
I got to watch that yet, too. I think that's on Hulu or Amazon or something.
Yeah, well, it's a full-length film, and, yeah, it was really well done.
So what's going on with you guys for... You guys bringing in a camera crew and going to document some stuff? And
You know, we talked about it.
Start little commercials running on Facebook and stuff. And you know what? When I was asking you earlier about the records and the digging, I thought for sure it was going to be a lot of avant-garde because that's where your heart is mainly, like your collectible, I guess I should say. You love the avant-garde music, the avant-garde jazz and stuff.
I mean, me personally, I like people that kind of put out their own thing or did their own thing. Not to say that I don't love like Blue Note and Impulse.
Right.
Obviously. I didn't even know kind of those artists had a lot of freedom back in the day to do what they wanted. But yeah, so you're right. Yeah, finding the weird avant-garde. And again, that was the record, The Soap East Underground. That was something that I wasn't looking for. That was just something that was found. Like you said, estate sale. You don't always find those at estate sales, obviously. But that was found at an estate sale. And
you also like being hand-to-hand stuff. Like Mike Johnston will give you stuff, you know, from Northwoods, and other people come through with some stuff of little historical significance that as unreleased. And I know that's a big spot for music collectors. I mean, is always finding the uncovered gems, and you've got a pretty good collection of stuff like that too. If I could go off for a second, to me, like it's the connection and the archiving that really makes at least the music store, the record store for me. I was always going there to look, to search, and to meet and talk to people. So that is, I don't know, it for me just keeps it going. Like I'm never not bored by it, especially, and it never stops too. It's like, look what you're doing and look what we're doing. We're just like continually adding to the archives that someone 40 years from now is going to be talking about this. Yeah.
That you're like what happened here. So, and again, it's just like we're kind of adding to the archives. Oh, and to add to Vinyl Nation about, you know, the woman maybe getting upset about, and I get it. Like, it's kind of like what part of you, like part of your identity, right? That you like we're so connected with that. Like now maybe you got to let go, but that's every record store, that's every archive, and that's how like everyone got their archive by. And I think that was said in the movie. The one DJ said, like, that's how I got my records, was by people letting go of them. You know, before, otherwise, because most of them we bought used. You know, unless you're buying every single record new.
Right.
Yeah, if you're buying used records, someone else. That came from someone else's archive.
Or a lot of the stories I read from artists that I'm into, they're like my brother, my sister, or my aunt, and my uncle, or my mom, or my dad. It was always digging into somebody else's collection or stealing it from somebody's collection. Or look at the whole English thing with the American Blues, how that was passed around, and people were hoping a boat would come over with more, you know, just getting that American Blues over there, and then they turned it on to us over here, and then you're like, wow. Just crazy
it's one
connections.
Big, huge cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys really have kind of different musical tastes, though, right? So Jess, when I talked to you at trivia, you know, and you were kind of a new wave fan.
I think new wave. I like pop.
I do too. You know, you know, with all due respect to jazz, that's not something that I choose to listen to. I like, you know, I like rock and pop and, you know, that kind of thing. But you get along, you know, obviously, famously, even though your
like
musical tastes are different.
Yeah, I like a lot of world music, like Afro pop, Afro funk. I do like jazz, but not so much the avant-garde that Jordan likes, because I think it's because I'm not a musician and I don't understand it as well.
Well, yeah, well, I'm in the same boat. You know, I don't play anything. So, I guess maybe that's why it didn't appeal to me as much as, say, other forms of music do.
I say like reading articles and books helped me a lot because I remember hearing it growing up, and when I was like 17, some of the more far out jazz recordings that weren't being put out into the mainstream, and again, not really understanding it, but also going, how are they doing that? And then also not really knowing who to ask after that at being 17. Everyone that I knew in the musical world that I was kind of close to was not into that. They were, rock music. I had an uncle who was really into progressive rock and, that sort of side of the avant-garde, but never really crossed over into jazz. So it wasn't until I met someone who was lived it until I could understand it. And then when I started reading books and articles, magazines and interviews, that's when it hit me like a ton of bricks. I guess, as they say.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I know growing up, I came through our very first guest we had on the show, Gary Aisel. His son was my best friend growing up. So prog was in my ears as much as my mom and dad's music, because it was Genesis and Yes and everybody, King Crimson, and deep cuts to Who, or whatever, and that all was in my mind, like, wow. But jazz always touched me a certain way. And I wanted to be a sax player. So in 5th grade, I was playing sax. You turn on in the middle of the night, you got NPR on locally, and there's always jazz on, or blues,
And that's just it. It's in the middle of the night.
Yes. And you're like, this is buried. No one's hearing it. It's not mainstream, but I'm really into this. And I had no one to talk to about it. And no one knew about it. And I didn't know the questions even to ask. You just kind of just listen to it and absorb it. And that took me into books as I got older, and finally meeting some musicians that could put it together. And then the day I met Mike Johnston, that was like, okay, I guess I know a person from that world now, and it was able to take me to the next step. I see what you're doing there with how you follow the lineage, because it's hard to find that side of the coin of music without being dipped in it and knowing about it,
It is. Yeah, it's hard to just be like, oh, I want to listen to this record today. And never listen to like a jazz record or blues or something, It's hard to just get into it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, on your musical side, Beast in the Field's done, right?
Yeah.
What's your next thing, Jordan?
Oh, yeah. It's Beast in the Field. I was in a band called Beast in the Field, heavy stoner, whatever band.
The loudest band ever, louder than Motorhead.
No, come on, 128 decibels. No, it was funny because I loved being in Beast, but as soon as it was like created, it was like I needed to do something else too, and so I think finally it took like this, and I love, like I said, I love those records. I like talking to people about them. But to me, it was like Dexter Gordon, going back to jazz saxophone, who he said he's got to search for something every night, and there's just no stopping that search. He's like, I could try, but there's just no turning it off. So to me, that's the thing, is like I feel like every night I can search for something new in my own head and try and make it come out.
And you also that was guitar on Beast in the Field. You also played drums now. You've played some with Northwoods Improvisers on their records, percussion.
Yeah.
You play a lot of various instruments. So you have like a 100 CD box set waiting to come out or something. So only a few people know about this. And when is the music going to come out? Is it ever going to see the light of day?
It will see the light of day. I think I just had a problem with, it was like I recorded so much, and whether it was good or not, I don't know. But it was like so many tracks that you can't just like dump it onto the world, especially if like there's zero, right? There's nothing there to start with. So I still haven't figured out the way that I just want to release music. I found my creative side has been very partial, is that the right word, to like ephemera stuff, like like if it's a podcast, I can make a song for a podcast and then it can just be thrown away. And I'm almost like more fine with that. Like how Eric Dolphy he said something like that. It's like I would record something for Blue Note and then I go back a week later and be like, oh, I got something better now. And to me, I had to take that as like, you can't not like what you did because you were there. You were living it in the present. So you have to kind of like something that you did to get to this new place where you're like, it's even better now, and to me, I took that as like, okay, I'm going to take that as not as a perfectionist, but like, can it bring me joy just to like see what else can happen? I don't know.
Right. I know walking in and out of the Kitch or interviewing people all these years, it's like I get that little wink and hear any of Jordan stuff I have, and it's like he's playing it for somebody, and he tells me about it. He hasn't played me. I was back there. I saw his stuff. Yeah, everybody's like, it's a little secret. Jordan's got a big old box set sitting back there for the world. And then you're like, someday, dude, someday, dude. I get it.
But you didn't mention the beds you're making for Black Circle Radio, and like you made one for the Humane Society for their video. So you did say the podcast thing, like kind of making disposable original music, but you're building on it.
Thanks. No, yeah, more specifically, so I started a radio show, Black Circle Radio, with my friend and other business partner, Mitch Anderson, and he bought a record lathe 5 years ago. Somehow he and his wife were like, yes, we're buying a record lathe. And that was it. He said that Black Circle Radio is an all vinyl radio show, and he wanted to have the music beds and everything be vinyl and be my music. So I have been creating music for Black Circle Radio, and Mitch would cut the record. And we've been every Monday. The show airs every Monday, a new show once a week. And I would have maybe like 1 to 4 new music beds once a week. So I found a lot of, joy in being able to create something like once a week rather than like make an album once a year. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And I
where do you find this? How do we find the show?
Well, you go to blackcircleradio.com. You could go find them on Mixcloud or on Facebook, and it'll take you to all the places where you can listen to the radio show. Mixcloud's a great place to listen to former broadcast. It is broadcast on FM Monday nights and on the internet 7:30 p.m. But thanks for reminding me of that. And I
was going to ask because I know I'm friends with the Instagram, but I'm glad Jess brought that up because
thank you, Jess.
I see what he's doing on Instagram. That's where you first aimed me to look, and I wanted to ask what kind of music you had going on that, because I know you worked hard on that for. You still are, right?
On music or
music, yeah.
Yeah, harder than ever. Yeah.
Well, what exactly is a music bed?
Something that gets played underneath a talk set. So, like, if you like This American Life, you might hear some like nice little strings,
like background music.
It's the start of our show when the words come over and they have the bed behind it. Yeah.
I guess I'd never heard the term music bed before.
Yeah, sorry, that's the radio broadcast term that I was forced to use too. But now I'm just used to it. Bed.
Okay.
Like that's what they're called.
Well, there's one thing you probably don't play, and that's a washboard. And if you ever need one, we got Fred in the house. He's the king of the washboards.
And
we
Punga. He smokes that. I want to, man. I mean, you played for like 8 seconds that was it. I'm like, I want to record you. Just sit there and play.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Fred's all like, yep, let's go. Well, cool. Well, thank you guys for coming on.
Jordan brought a big box of archive Michigan stuff.
Could we get some pictures of it today?
Yeah, we could just post that visually for everyone. And we have, independent record stores participate in Record Store Day every year. We have Black Friday, Record Store Day coming up November 27th, I think it is. So there's a list of, special releases that come out that day, but we're going to make it a little fun thing and have sales, and hopefully then the Small Business Saturday is the next day and we'll continue the sales.
Yeah, I thought it was really neat the way you put upcoming releases that are coming into the store out on Facebook.
Yeah.
Letting people know what's coming. That's making good use of the media.
Have you ever seen that video on YouTube of a guy in Arizona who has a record shop and he puts all the new releases every week? It's really interesting.
Oh,
A lot of stores.
yeah.
Guy with a beard.
Jim in Midland does it every week too.
Oh, okay.
He does what he gets in.
He does like a little
A
video.
little video. I usually just type it out and then I'll post pictures on Instagram.
This guy recently bought George Benson's record collection.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's
what
cool.
a collection that was.
I bet. That's wild. That would be something. We'd have to make a video if we bought, like,
Yeah.
maybe Bob James. Maybe we could buy Bob James's record collection or something.
He lives up north, right?
Yeah,
luck with that.
Traverse City.
Yeah.
Well, the fun part would be just some stuff that maybe you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
That, he had a bunch of Blondie records or something like that, just like he had this Dibber Harry
Oh, nice.
fixation, was part of his collection, even though he's a jazz
She
guy.
made a jazz record with, I just found it, with Jazz Passengers. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Yeah, Deborah Harry and Jazz Passengers.
Wow.
Okay.
So
They're not the messengers. They're just passing along.
Passengers.
Yeah, not passing along the message.
Maybe Bob James is a big Debbie Harry fan. Maybe he'll call in or something.
Yeah, there we are. All right. Well, we share an interest.
Gary will call him up. We got Gary working our phone on the hard to find guys here, so he's got the end being the Rock Hall of Fame, man.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, thank you too. We want to thank the Kitch for supporting our show, for being our sponsor, for being our local Michigan go-to. I mean, I have musician friends and just regular pals that'll hit me up that say we've stopped through Bay City. We stopped at the Kitch, and either I haven't told them about it, or if I have told them about it, they thank me either way because it's the place for them to go. So thank you too for having a place for everybody to convene. And through COVID here, it was still the place to get a breath of fresh air behind a mask and still get it from the heart. I think you two, better than anything, connect with people because of who you are and what you do, and we can't thank you enough for what you guys do.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Still having that pleasure of going to a place where you can just kind of thumb through and look at stuff. That's just a lot of fun.
That's the whole ballgame. Thanks for listening.
The MMHP is hosted on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and our own Libsyn podcast site. You can also search MMHP989 on Facebook for up-to-the-minute information, as well as both Dr. J and Sir Fred's album picks of the week, posted every weekend. You can connect with Scott on the web at scottbakermusic.com, Dr. J at michiganrockandrolllegends.com, Sir Fred at fredrife.com, and the Electric Kitch at electrickitch.com.
This podcast wouldn't be here without special help from Studio 163's Alan Garcia, our podcast videographer and wingman, Mr. Mike Beatty, MMHP tagline specialist, Mr. Eddie Switek, and of course, Gary Johnson, Fred Rife, the Electric Kitch, and all of our special guests, and especially you listeners. We want to thank you.
You've been listening to the MMHP and the 989. From all of us at the podcast, we want to thank you for tuning in.
Oh, so you've got to get us the background to this Army thing, man. This is nuts.
Yeah, I had never heard of
You
that
just about
before.
had all the jaws hit the floor at the same time. Like,
I
what
used
did you
to
get
have a lot
into?
of Army records. They were like compilations of songs and stuff.
Yeah.
But I never heard of that at all. Wow.
Yeah, let me just
We have a picture of you and that guy.
I have a
think, on
picture of
Facebook. It was so weird. Yeah, he was.
that's
He
so
did
weird.
not really want to.
Hey, do you have any Timothy
Yeah.
Ward at your store?
No, but someone just posted about that. Timothy with 2 M's, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's
saw
like
that record for.
Yeah, the elf.
I used to have. He brought them in my store a
Oh
long
my
time ago,
God.
and I had a box of them. And I was selling one of my friends, the record collection, and gave it to me, and he said, "I don't know who this is," and it had 20 cents on it.